4coder Friday happens to be the kickoff for an entire weekend of 4coder work. Um, so let me check this off my paper to-do list. So let's see. Okay, right. First thing I wanted to do is I have begin UI mode and end UI mode use counters right now. Start UI mode and end UI mode. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's track down UI mode counter first. Okay, so this part here is just responsible for a toggle now, and it only returns true if we actually change the state. Now I just still want to track down all the places where I called both of these. So there's right there defining it. If we successfully end the UI mode, we'll just go ahead and say we don't care. Good. Good. There's going to be a couple of those. Why don't I just prepare for it at the head end? Okay. This one's fine. Alright, so see if the first step works. I might need to be playing some tunes all day long. Let me make sure my OBS sounds off. Okay. I'll have to figure out what this means, why it's not doing a useful thing right now, later. Maybe this just never gets called. Okay. Yay, Flying Solomon, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I decided to get started extra early because I was partially thinking I don't usually get started early, and I know a lot of people get better, coverage of their day if I start early. There's also the factor that I feel like I'm going to be more productive this way, starting early. In terms of the fact, I think I'll be able to go for a little while before I have to take my first break. And that way I can get a good early morning sprint in here. Alright, I think we got one thing done so far. Let me pull up the debugger real quick to check. I'll bring up the to-do list in a second, Flying Solomon. I jumped right in, so I already have one thing to test. Oof, this is taking a while. Hey! We just want to make sure UI mode still begins and ends correctly. Uh-oh. That's not good news. So something important changed there. That's all the same. Why did this change? I'm literally the only thing I've changed is UI mode, and this much is different. There's something about width somewhere. just find the UI mode related stuff. I'm going to check it all again. So it's not UI mode. If it is UI mode, why don't we just get that in there? UI mode. By the way, let's take a quick look at the to-do list. So I'm currently working on taking the basically the reference counter off of the UI thing, because that only really makes sense if I do a UI stack, which I'm not prepared to do yet. That needs to wait for other stuff. So I'm switching it to a turn off non thing. The next thing after that is there's a couple other points of cleanup on the behavior. When we call end, when the file gets ended but it doesn't actually get closed, that means we're basically signaling that whatever this file represented, its contents is being cleared, and so the thing it represented should be cleared as well, if there was anything associated with it. So that used to be used for things like you could have a jump list, and then when that jump list got cleared, you'd get an end. That file would get ended, and along with that ending, you'd clear all the attached data. Well, now that attached data is attached via the managed scope system, so when that end happens, we expect the scopes to be cleared, and they're not right now. So that needs to get fixed. Then we can get started on a couple of the little annoying bugs that are left over from switching to the new listers. That's these four. And then finally, after that, we have the beginning of a command lister. And if I reorganize these at all, there's I don't have the full list here right now, but command lister is the first one, and then we'll deal with other stuff. Okay. Now, stepping through everything that says UI mode. It's all off by one already. Said who 12? Yes, I use 4coder to code 4coder. I usually am like about 1 to 1/2 a version behind at all times, but right now I'm actually running the almost cutthroat newest version. I'm like 10 minutes of new edits in 4coder that I'm not running right now. Unusual circumstances. Okay, let's take a look at view UI. Anything good here? So if we're in UI mode, you process the wheel. Or you render rect. Where is that created though? Okay, so I mean the outer looks correct, so the inner shouldn't be messed up. Alright, let's step through it. Sorry, not that. This, and then this, and then now we want this. Pull up Okay, let's see what we got. So the rectangle has the correct sort of width. We're not in UI mode, the file is ready, so we come in here to render. The rectangle we get here also looks correct. So what goes wrong? Display width. Okay, the display width seems correct. Printf Armin, I'm doing a couple of small detail improvements first. To get this thing started. Something is wrong with the file renderer right now. Some bug has been introduced and I'm trying to track it down. Scroll X is at 0. So it doesn't have a do wrap. Yeah. Hey, glad 4coder is useful for you. Alright, what's going on wrong here? Come on, let's get to the chase. Character rect. So there's one rectangle. There's the glyph. Why is its X still at 3? What do the items look like? Oops. Why don't we look for where... Okay, there it is. Items. Count. Alright, I see it. So the items coming off of the low-level render are wrong. So the width looks good. clip width. There's our problem right there. So why is file region not getting updated? That's the new question. Let's track it down. I might have gotten this one backwards. This might be if we're not in UI mode, then we want to run the wheel, update the file region. Check if we need to reinitialize scrolling. Updated paste effect. Yeah. I think that's the only thing I could have gotten wrong though to explain this, so uh-oh. We have crash. Alright, so this is back. Now let's see if we can track down that other discovery. Interesting, a failure here. So I go in here to kill the buffer. I'm gonna free the object. We're visiting all of the object's keys. So there's only one of those. Okay. Huh. So what I'm doing right now is I have this key, It has 2 members. I visit each member. If that, okay, let me take a quick peek right here. Come on, let's see. So we're going to check out these members. There are 2 of them. One of them should be the skip object. Okay, good. So this is the skip object, so this is not the skip object. This is the one we're actually looking at, right? Okay, yes, this is the one we're looking at. Star object putter, aka the object. Yeah, okay, so object is the thing we're looking at. And then we looked over its nodes. Its first node looks like what? So this object is saying 1 key, except that it has 2 key pointers. The key we're trying to reach has a 1A24768, which is this one right here, but we have a 1 in the key count, so we never see it. Okay, how did we end up in this situation? Let me first recall how this key and object algorithm works, and then I'm going to track down occurrences where key count could have become incorrect. Do you know how to enable VSync on Windows Classic theme? I'm not sure. I don't know it off the top of my head in a way I could tell you right now. I might have achieved it before, but I'm not sure. I've not been very thorough about checking that kind of stuff in anything that I've worked on. Okay. Quick reminder about how okay. So, how this algorithm works is we have a set of objects, right, that just exist. Now, for any subset of this set of objects, including the whole set itself, you can get a key, obj K-E-Y. You can get a key, and so we have a couple of keys here. I'll call these 1, 2, 3, 4. Call this A, B. Every key, it knows which objects it contains, or depends on is more like it. So like 1, 2, and then B can depend on 1, 3, 4. Why not? And then separately, each object knows which keys it is a member of. So 1 has A, B, and 2 has A, 3 has B, 4 has B. Now when one of the objects gets deleted, we're supposed to go to its list of keys, go to each of those keys and delete that key, and then go to these locations and block that out. Since we're coming from the 4 to get here, we've put a skip on this 4 right here. Okay, now where could the key count get wrong on one of these objects? Could it be that I did in fact erase a key like this and the key is still sitting around and gets erased doubly? No, I don't think so. Let me double check something here. Oh, I don't have debug up anymore. So possible points of failure that I can think of right off the top of my head are either just the erasing process doesn't always update the key count correctly, or well, that would actually have to be the insert process because we're one too small, not one too big. The other thing that could be happening is that B has actually already been freed, and so that's why it doesn't show up, and it's correct to not show up. And then the question is, why is it getting freed again? But it makes sense for B to be getting freed right now because, well, there should be multiple keys there. Let me run this again. That's not where it's going to be useful. Let me run this again. There we go. Okay. Kill buffer, free file, lifetime free object. How many keys are there? We have key node first. This is showing 2 keys and a count of 1. But there should be more keys than that. Yeah, the thing I'm killing should have more keys than that. Unless they're getting removed while I'm iterating. Duh. Okay. So I make the list of keys. I have the list of keys that I need to be removing. But the problem is if I remove them as I read them out, yeah, but I'm passing down the skip object so that won't happen. Alright, I want to continue from here and observe this time. Okay. So I free the original object, and that's just a matter of a couple of those things getting freed. Then I say, what's your current key count? And the lifetime object says it has one key. How could this buffer have one key? Is it not getting intersected into the jumps of all the other buffers? What's the one key it does have? Like, what other object actually gets registered? And how is it that this shows two things, two keys? Yeah, that part's all working correctly. So the weird part here is that I'm deleting the jump list and it doesn't have any clue that it's got a bunch of keys, which it should have, I feel like. Okay, now the alloc starts rolling in, right? Okay, so there's the scope of that thing, and then there's that scope there. And we ask for a new scope. Nope. That's the wrong answer. $49, $56. Alright, whatever goes wrong is already lost on the first, Hey, Drunk Dane, welcome. Whatever's lost is already lost on the first iteration, so I need to catch it more red-handedly. Okay, so 47 and 54. Memory bank allocate. Buffer markers header plus the size we need for 2 markers. $56 bytes, okay, reasonable. And then I take the header and I set it to shit, I already missed the good part. $47.54. Okay, 47 is a buffer. We put it right there. 54 is not an intersected. Okay, it's treating the optional extra scope as intersected. Okay, I see. So it is intersected because I'm manually intersecting it right there over and over again. It's technically completely unhelpful and could be eliminated very easily from this side, but it's supposed to work anyway, so let's find out why it's not working, fix it, and then eliminate it, because this doesn't need to rely on such heavy artillery in that case. Alright, easiest option here, object putter array. It's going to end up with 3 elements in it. Let's take a look. Okay, so it ends up with 3 elements, 2 unique elements, and then I come in here and so we get 2 members stored in the first 2 slots and sorted. Yes, okay. Technically this is a bad example because I only have the one file to match to. Okay, 53. Optionals extra scope was 53 as well. Let's just take a quick look on the other side here. Buffer get managed scope with multiple dependencies. There we go. 52, 51, yes, and then $53. Alright. So this is 2, 52 and 51. Right. Then we get a 53 here and pass that in there. And it marks, or it fills the markers. Alright, what happens now? 52, 49, 54, and then pop in here. 54, okay. I mean, that's a separate key then. That's a separate key which should have as one of its dependents this buffer here. $52. So you can't change the highlight color with the view set highlight call, but the color it uses is in the color palette under the word highlight. So you can change that color. It's just it changed for the entire application. You can't have specialized highlight colors for certain circumstances in the current build. Dedupe and sort. Bring us down to those two. And then what? Get or create. And we return an existing key. Okay, so this isn't getting us anywhere because we don't actually see the moment of the thing getting created. In order to see that, I need to come around here and look at this. This is the part that actually does that the first time. $52.45. One buffer, two buffers. Sorted and count of 2. We come in here, does not exist yet, so we make a new key. Hold on, let me turn off everything else. I want to see this code path, and this code path. So allocate that there. Well, there's the problem right there. The key count is still 1, but we've written the key right here. Whoops. And then we never actually increment. Okay. 428 dynamic variables. No, you can't have two different colors at the same time unless you, I mean, you can't have them at the same time anyway because you can only have one highlight. You can programmatically change the highlight of the color palette. Let's see, in here somewhere we have set theme colors. You can use set theme colors to change the color of the highlight in between uses, so that every time you're about to use the highlight, you can set its color, and that'll create the look of having different highlights with different colors. But you can't have two different highlights with different colors at the same time, because you can't have two different highlights, period, and because even if you could, there's only one color slot for that right now. So everything reads from the same slot. Alright, so 428 dynamic variables. Alright, that's object add key. Okay, so I don't see any other problems here necessarily. Okay, I'm satisfied. Hey, there we go. Okay. Alright, Flying Solomon asks, what do you think about drawing tablets? So I've only had a very limited experience with drawing tablets. I had one in 2017 that was like a Cintiq with the monitor in the tablet, and it was, I mean, neat, but I don't really think I'd have a very hard time using one, I think. I don't know. I'd have a very hard time using one, mostly because I don't have art to do anyway. Like, I'm not any good at art, so I don't try to do art that I think is for anything real. There's also the factor that, I mean, I for one just like using a piece of paper to draw things and doodle, and the tablet doesn't feel quite as fun. I would only get into using a tablet, I think, like that if I was trying to be a very fast digital artist, which I have no reason to become. That's not anywhere near the skill set that I can possibly develop, so just, I think they're neat. If you're asking about, like, Tag details, I feel like they're pretty easy to work with too in terms of writing code for them. They're not a particularly horrible input device, I guess. So, we fixed that thing, the crash. So this is done. Let's see if we can do a couple of these other bug fixes that are foundational and then update the build again. So end file signal dumps the current managed scope. Let's take a look. I might have that under a to-do somewhere. So important, I haven't done it yet. Alright, let's go about this a different way because this isn't being very helpful. Let's look for end file. Here we go. There's calling the end file hook. Here's calling the end file hook again. Setting it. Setting the hook. Okay, so let's do it on this side first. So there's edit dot, whoops, target. I guess I need app target. There we go. Be careful. Alright. So edit's pretty far down the list. Okay, so those are the only two places where it comes up. Okay. The reason I do that is we can now return to looking at this and simplify it down to that. Not a crash, just Visual Studio being a nuisance today. Alright. That's all setting the hook, and then here's calling the hook. Okay. Now we've isolated all of the code past the end of file to not only call a hook, but also go through this path here. Okay. So once the hook goes through, there should be a clearing out of the lifetime object and a replacement with a new lifetime object for this buffer. Which probably needs to look like that. And then we need to look at the file.h yeah, the lifetime object. We need to find out what happens when we free a file. Working set free file. Ah, crap, I haven't fixed this yet. Oops. Alright, keep tracking this down. Working set. Yeah, so here I'm doing lifetime free object. I'm not convinced that's the right place for it. So this only gets called here. File free gets called, what's this? Reopen. I see. Yeah, so I'm going to go to working set and file, and I'm going to say that this belongs in free file. I don't know exactly where. Only trouble is now this needs a lifetime allocator, which you didn't used to need, but I think that'll be okay. Yep, okay. Hey, Ginger Bell, welcome to the stream. Alright, so what we have so far is I've cleaned up a little bit when it will do the destruction of the lifetime object. Yeah, only problem is it's also getting created there. I would need to move it to the inside of the file init stuff. I'm doing pretty good. It's been a while since I've really pushed 4coder. I mean, I've been slowly, gradually doing crazy stuff with 4coder for this build, but it's been a while since I've decided to sit down and really push it to the point that I get a bunch of new stuff out of it at the end of the weekend, so I'm excited. I'm hoping to go to work more productive next week. Okay, so yeah, that's not doing anything to take the lifetime allocator and allocate that object, even though the file free is being made responsible for it. Now, this already has models, so I can get to the lifetime allocator easily. I can just throw in anywhere in there that I want that it does that. Yeah, I think that's better for me still, so let's try this. Alright, let's see if I've correctly navigated to the situation. Yeah, Jim has a good point, which is I could probably switch to the standing mode for this desk. Here, I'm a little bit yawny. I wanted to get started early so I could get my first session in before I was like too tired to continue. I got some sleep last night, but not enough to go for too long, so I'll probably crash before too long. And then resume after I come back out. Okay. So now the question is, does ending a file work correctly? And the answer is going to be no to that. But can I reproduce something that looks like it being broken? I don't know, I sometimes get broken jumps when I'm like compiling and stuff, but it doesn't reproduce that easily. So suppose I follow this out to here, and then I type for loops. That's correct. Yeah, all of this is the right stuff. Maybe it's just the compiler version that gets messed up. This is going to be more annoying than I expected. I have to create a better trap for it. Well, in the meantime, okay, so after we've run the end hook, we're going to want to do this, and before that we want to do this. So we free the thing, alright, so now end file does that. If we do our job right here, guess that change got lost in the crash at some point. Alright. Okie doke. I'm gonna check the time real quick. So we're an hour and 20 in. That's good, that's good. I'm gonna keep going for about another hour and 20 probably. But I'm gonna need a quick few minute break. Be right back, chat amongst yourselves. Oh, before I go, check out this to-do list. This thing is done. I mean, because if it is working, we won't see anything right now, but it'll manifest as me not having my jump to compilation errors at work, which is hard to test, so I'll just have to wait for it to happen. But we can sort of see it working. What is that? ending file 16. I have no idea. But suppose I did that followed by that and that. So it got ended twice, no crashes, everything held together just fine. So at least there's, you know, it fits the other somewhat correctly what I just did. I'm pretty sure that, I mean, unfortunately it's just not very easy to test if that is working in any obvious way that I can think of. So, anyway, be right back. Lesson 5. Alright. Let's stand for the second half of this part of this first stream, shall we? Okay. Alright, so there's this bug where this got introduced when I was changing up how footer panels work. So there's this bug where if I open up fored.cbp and then I hit Alt-2, it gets replaced in that view. You know what? Hold on. Let me check one other thing first, because I keep seeing this weird thing sitting there. Okay. Yeah, so let's deal with that bug. So that is going to work out best if I just figure out the name of that command. No, 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 no. I don't have names here though. Open matching file CPP. Alright, so open matching file CPP. Grab the active view, get its buffer. Get the matching file. What happened to the part where we change active views? I don't understand. Get next view looped primary panels. There it is. I go to the next panel. Alright, yeah, I don't get this. So I'm doing looped all. Get next view looped all with the view. View get is passive. Eventually we wind up right back where we started. And that's why it doesn't change now. So how did this get broke? View get is passive. This would have to always return true to cause this bug. This looks like it's all coming together correctly. Manage variable set, the scope, the variable, the value, the scope, the variable, the value. These look fine, so what's the problem? Are things getting marked as passive legitimately that shouldn't be getting marked as passive? Open footer panel. It's the only way to get a passive view. Alright, I'm not sure what's going wrong. Okay. Must be default framework. There it is. minimum, max, layout, location counter, -1. Let's see. So okay, so is passive is 0, so view get is passive should be false, and we break. I don't get it. Why is the view the same? It never writes back out. Okay, I see the problem. Alright, here's where we do the primary panels loop, and the problem is I do it on this view thing. And wait, I'm returning that though. Get next view looped primary panels. Why am I returning that? Yeah, I shouldn't do that. That's confusing. I haven't updated yet. Don't kill that. Just put scratch over it. Alright, that should fix this, I think. Get out of here. I need to check up on you now. Hey! Cool. Okay, so that's back to working the way I want it to. Yep, that's all stuff that doesn't need to go into the change notes. Okay, so that's fixing all the hard bugs. Now we want to get this sorting thing sorted out, and then I will have everything back to the way it used to be. This is sort of a soft bug in my mind, and then the new stuff, the rest of this is, well, this needs to get fixed first. So the problem is if I do 4ed cpp and then I type that in, it doesn't say that it's loaded even though it's supposed to. So we need to figure out why that is. Not sure which end to start from, but I'm going to start from, well, let me check something first. Yeah, so that's working. But that's not. Okay. So yeah, that suggests pretty strongly that where I want to look is in the lists.cpp file system list. Refresh handler, generate hot directory file list. There we go. And now the question is, Alright, we're going to check out 4coder lists.cpp, line 478. While we're here, why don't we dismiss all this nonsense? Go away. Okay. Alright, let's wait till we actually are reproducing a bug, though. Wait. What? It must be hitting... How is it doing that without running this? Okay, hold on. Where is write character file path? I see. Okay. Eventually we get into here. And there's the question now. Why does node status look like an empty string? So I do actually care more about catching this one while it's happening. So this is all the folders. Now we're looking through file names, and we want to find the file situation where file name dot string 0 equals 4 and string 1 equals E. I think that'll be enough to narrow it down. Here's 4a.cpp, which we have open. Get buffer by file name. We try to canonicalize the name and we fail. Okay. So the problem is that this right here is just the name of the file inside the hot directory, but it's not the full path. Okay, so this is fixable pretty easily. We just need to okay. I guess it's hot.size plus 1 for a slash plus info file name length plus 1 for a null terminator. Nothing useful in there ever. Okay. There we go. So hopefully that's enough to get the statuses working again. Still nothing. Alright, let's take a look at what's happening now. What? Oh, that's not still alive. Okay, then. Temp section, temp section. I see. Okay, so I guess the issue is we've got the file name copied right here for when we want to give that to here. We get the status correctly there. The only problem is we're not using the right name here when we do that. So this can be under temp. That's not a problem. It's just we can't use this hot up here because that's under temp. Extra buffer copy, don't care. Although, if I just didn't have that under temp, it would work. Why didn't I think of that first? We'll just leave that sitting there. Alright, let's try that one for fixing the status. Whoops. Okay, so that's just stupid. 638. That's weird. Why would that have never ever crashed before? Because it's been failing the canonicalization this whole time. Hey, there we go. Brilliant. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at my to-do list. There we go. Alright, now we're looking at sorting. I think now's a good time for me to update the build I'm running again, just to avoid, yeah, this is still the old nonsense string stuff that I don't like. Like, that's the very first time I made a string library like that, and I've built two more since then, and they're much better now. Like, I've organized the names of functions a lot better. I've supplied the things I actually need most of the time. I have the exact useful integrations with the arena that I actually need in the new stuff. So at some point, probably in the changeover to the new engine, I'm gonna completely scrap and rewrite that library to make it better. Like, I'll keep the old one that people are still using, but I'm gonna, in 4coder, be switching to a new one, which is gonna lead to people having to learn it anyway if they're using my string stuff in 4coder customization code. Okay. This will take a minute. Let's see if there's anything on Discord. Alright, that looks like it was successful. Alright. Hey Florian, welcome to the stream. Okay. So, this should be the new and improved, even better working version. Literally 100% up to date right now. Now let's get back onto the to-do list and knock out another one. Fix up file lister sorting. Okay. So, especially in the file, like the buffer list, but also somewhat in the file list, we want to do a few things to, well, maybe the file list we actually don't want to touch too much. We do want to make sure exact matches pop to the top. We're going to do that in another pass. So I'm going to focus on buffer lists for now. Alright, generate all buffers list. There we go. Alright, so this is just iterating the entire list of buffers and putting them all out. But what we really want to do is a couple of phases. There's regular buffers, buffers starting with star, buffers that are open in views. Alright, so to do this one, what we have to do is just copy this again. It's kind of looking like Okay, so yeah. That should do the trick. Only difference is don't need that around. Negate this thing. Okay, so that's pretty close. Now the only thing we have to do is whenever we see one that's already being used, we want to store that for later. Okay. Yeah, so take all the currently viewed buffers and we can stick them down here, and we'll get them by just going like that. Okay, so that does the loop over the array of currently viewed buffers. Now we need to do the thing that builds that here, but we could still put that off and do one other thing first, which is when we get one of these buffers, we can then determine if we need to skip it. Using this same loop here. If buffer.bufferID equals buffers currently being viewed I, then skip equals true break. Except that's lame. Let's just go to skip 1. Same thing again right here. Okay. So what's the next deal? We gotta fill this list. Then we also want to deduplicate, which means we still actually want to do this. Alright, so now we add viewed buffers to this array one at a time without adding duplicates until almost 16 of them are there. We then visit all of the regular buffers, making sure not to put in any of those, and output those. We visit all of the star buffers, not outputting any of the viewed ones, and then finally we output the viewed stuff. No, not right now. I haven't saved. That sucks. Still got a crash bug. Must have just introduced it though, so it won't be too hard to fix by the end of the day, hopefully. Alright, how much did we lose? Okay, we didn't lose very much at all. Sweet, it works. Alright, now we want to do exact matches sort to the top. Always, 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 always. So let me break that down a little bit, because that number of always suggests that there are cases that I need to make sure I'm handling, and that that number is large enough that I thought I might miss some of them. That number of cases, to be specific. So there we go. So basically what we want to check is it's kind of annoying, isn't it? So a couple of options here. I could make this a real sort error by making an array that's a temporary array that just stores all the buffer IDs and stores them next to a sorting score, and assign a sorting score. Takes O(n) time to build this thing, then sort it, and log n time, and then build the UI thing off of that, and then discard it, right? Only problem is I don't want to have to do a real sort, because if I do it in just multiple passes, it never becomes n log n, but I don't know if that's actually, I don't know. So far I'm happier with it the way it is, but if I'm going to be sorting an exact match to the front, then I basically am doing an entire search for one or two matches that are going to pop to the front, and really if I want to have exact matches before the extension matches, which would want both of those in that order, then I'm going to be doing two whole passes testing for stuff, and oof. Okay, here's an idea. What if I do build a temporary data structure that's got the following pattern? It has all of the arrays that I will get when I sort it into different categories, and enough space on each of those to work. So the exact file match, for instance, we know there can't be more than one of those, at least in the buffer list, right? Well, ever. There can't be more than one exact match. So we would have an array of one spot for that. Then we'd need to know how many buffers there were, because the next array for things that match up to their dot could be everything. So that has the full length of the number of buffers. So do the next two, which are basically the sort order is exact match, match, exact match before extension, substring match, regular file, substring match, star file buffer, something like that, and then currently viewed buffer. So that's 5 different categories that would have lengths of 1, B, 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 and 16. Then what we could do is one single pass over the entire set of buffers, for each buffer categorize into one of these and insert it into the respective array, then loop over these arrays and output their details. This would give me basically a 2-pass structure. And the only real downside is the amount of memory you have to allocate, but is that a real downside? I mean, we're talking about 4-bit or 4-byte buffer IDs here. B times 4 bytes times 3 arrays. I think that always works. You'd have to have like 1 million files, which would already be breaking for other reasons, before this being your problem. I think this sets the ceiling pretty high to do it this way. Okay. And ceiling as in, it sets the ceiling pretty high as far as how long this will keep working, this particular system. Jim asks, will you sort case insensitively, or uppercase then lowercase? Not sure what you mean. I'm not sorting alphabetically at all. I will do case insensitive matches. That's actually something I should get on right now. Oh shoot, this doesn't work. This is not going to work because we don't have a query string at this time, so sorting by different levels of matching here is impossible. Let me think. Okay, this is staying the way it is. That achieves this ordering right here. In order to achieve these two, what we're going to do is look at this set, the things out of these, generated out of these two. I guess actually that would trump everything, this would. So we'll look at everything we already generated in its currently sorted order. These will go out in order in the second phase. So it'll be like phase 1 before we have a search string, and phase 2 once we have a search string. And the way this part will work is it's going to do 2 passes over this. One pass for generating the list of exact matches, and then it'll use that list of exact matches to output everything, and then another pass to do everything that wasn't an exact match. Or, I guess it's basically 2 passes, yeah. And we build 2 arrays. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So let's go track that part down. Not the generate call. I guess it's update UI. Yeah, okay, so this is the part we actually want to be changing. This is where we're outputting a bunch of items, and we decide to output an item whenever we iterate the option nodes, and we basically want to build okay, so Scratch is fully protected right now. It's all under the full temp, right? Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to build Okay, so now what we want to do is figure out if it's a match at all and then investigate further. If it's a match at all, then we want to categorize it into one of three things. If match node string key string, and exact matches.count equals 0. Else, alright, so there's one case. Now if we okay, so if it matches everything up to there and node string dot size is strictly greater than this thing's size, and that is a dot, and that should be enough. Then before extension matches dot node putters equals push array. No. Sorry. Kept reading the code I was copying for too long. Before extension matches dot count plus plus equals node. Else substring matches sub dot node putters substring matches dot count equals node. Okay, so anything that used to pass this filter will pass this filter still and end up in one of those three categories. Then this will become a matter of okay, we just need a lister option node putter array, node putter arrays, and let's just fill this up with the exact matches followed by the before extension matches and then the substring matches. And then for each of those we can get one node putter array, array index, and we can then do okay, we can remove that filter from here as it's getting applied ahead now. And then we can do lister option node equals node putter array node index. Okay, So now all the rest of this code can keep working the way it always has, thinking that it's getting nodes the same way it always did, but it's actually getting nodes out of these separate category arrays which were built up here in a single extra pass that didn't used to exist. And so basically we've added one pass to the whole system that does the filtering and another pass that actually builds the items, but we haven't had to substantially alter either one to actually fit them together, assuming that I can get this building within 1 or 2 hits of the build button. Alright, let's try this. Hey, so look at that. Those are sorting to the top, but maybe they always sort to the top? What if I type in forehead buffer? But that sorts to the top too. You know what, let me just load the project and get them all into the other lister. Both of these listers run through the code we were just editing, so it's like a 2-for-1er. We get both of these simultaneously if I do my job right. So that is not promising. That should be pulling up forehead.cpp and forehead.h to the top. And instead it is not. They're at the very bottom. Okay, so when that became an exact match, it beat out Win32 forehead. Did you see that? But when it's a match like that, it doesn't come to the top. So what's wrong with this part? Ah. Didn't need you to show up right now. Load up that project. And now I'm going to type in forehead, and hey, they're at the top. If I type in forehead dot, we lose them, but if I exactly match it, it comes up again. I think that's about as good as I can hope for it to work. Bloop. Bloop. Boom. Sweet. Okay. Boom. Alright, we got one cool thing done today. So far. Alright, I think that that's about as much as I want to do in my first session here. Whoops, I just moved stuff around. Let me check the time. Yeah, okay. So we have one cool thing done finally. We now have exact matches getting popped to the top so that you don't have to scroll down when it won't take you to the file you want. If you type in its exact name, you will get it. So that's cool. We have yeah. So this stuff will come up next in the next stream, which will be later today, in like 4 to 6 hours, depending on how long my upcoming nap is. and how much time I spend doing other things, chores around the apartment, before I get back on. But we have a lot of time because I got started early, so I will be back later to try to knock out one, maybe two of these cool listers. Later.